been kicked out of Facebook a lot, and it's continuing to be a problem. I highly recommend that you hop over to YouTube if you can to check out this video live because honestly, I think I'll probably get kicked out of Facebook again. So, yeah. So, if you really want to see this live video, then you definitely want to check out YouTube. Hello, everyone on YouTube and Facebook. Uh, this is tough. I didn't think it was going to be tough. Today, I'm not feeling great, obviously. And I want to talk about dark energy, psychic attacks, reptilians, all of that great stuff. And if you do have kids that are watching this, maybe this isn't the best video to have them watch. And I'm not really crying for any reason in particular, other than the fact that I just feel drained. And I guess this is, I don't know. I guess I just feel really drained. And I wasn't going to do this live video because usually I like giving a lot of energy and 100% of my capacity to all of you. And I'm not used to being very vulnerable in live videos either, but I figured that it's also good for you guys to see me in a vulnerable place to know that I have bad days too. And like I said, today hasn't been a bad day in particular, but on Saturday night, so basically 2 nights ago, I got really badly psychically attacked, and I'll explain what that was and what happened and, you know, what went on, but after something like that, I just feel very exhausted, very drained, very tired. Yeah. It's just tough. So I was going to talk about the Mandela Effect and flipping into parallel realities today, but I just couldn't give you information that wasn't necessarily aligned to my energy and vibration and my highest truth. And like I said, everything in me wanted to not do this video, but I felt like it was important for me to do this live video and to show you that, once again, like I can be affected by energy. And all day I feel like I've been on the verge of crying, and of course the second I get on live video I cry. And it's so tough for me because I'm usually the teacher and the leader and the provider and the protector and the space holder, you know. So I want to ask all of you today to just hold space for me, and of course hold space for anyone else who feels like they've been, you know, attacked or kicked down or yeah. So today I want to talk about psychic attacks, demons, reptilians, shapeshifters, yeah, and what that means and how that can affect all of us. So I had an incredible retreat. I mean, just incredible. And maybe it was part of the vibration that I was just on such a high, you know, that this kind of happened at that moment when I was on that such a high. But this past week, especially, I have done more sessions for clients that have been attacked by reptilians, that have had dark entities and energies around them. I have done more reptilian clearings in 1 week than I have done in probably 3 years. And I think that that was a part of why I got so attacked on Saturday, because I was doing so much of this clearing for others and so much work. And of course my light is flickering because It's pretty much the energy of today. The light, the dark, the light, the dark. Wouldn't be surprised if my light just totally crapped out on me during this live video. So, yeah. So the first thing I want to say is, like, the darkness does exist. Like, it does. Like, we live in a binary world. And as much as you can feel the beautiful light of pure source energy, God, creation, whatever you want to call it, we can't deny the fact that there is darkness out there in the universe. And I've spoken about the darkness before, because I'm no stranger to it. I mean, this isn't the first time I've been psychically attacked. This has happened pretty much my whole life, since the beginning of my life. Things like sexual abuse when I was a child, and then getting really depressed and very anxious when I was a teenager, and then going into university and actually having entities and beings coming through, people like my roommates, and them making it their mission to basically bring me down and attack me. I want to say that not everyone is susceptible to getting psychically attacked or targeted, I guess, by the dark side. But especially if you are, a thought leader and you're trying to change the consciousness and uplift people, and you're in a position where you can affect a lot of people, you're definitely more likely to be targeted and to be attacked. And none of this information is meant to be fear-based. This is literally just me being super honest, super authentic, super real. And when these things happen to me, it's important for you guys to know too, because my life 90% of the time is butterflies and rainbows and appreciation. And yeah, every once in a while I'll stub my toe and draw some blood, but I can always see the positive in it. And even this situation, even this attack that happened, I can really truly see the positive in it. And I honestly really truly know why it happened. But at the same time, I can't just brush it off and say, yeah, it's all great. I can be vulnerable, and I can be in pain, and I can hurt too. And be affected by this stuff. And I think we can all really be affected by this stuff. And I think if anything were to affect me in a negative way, it would be dark energy. It's not, losing my job or having a client not resonate or getting kicked out of my place. A lot of the physical stuff is easy for me to comprehend and understand and overcome, because I don't necessarily look at life in a third dimensional perspective, but when something happens at such an energetic capacity where it freaks me out, then that definitely affects me. And obviously I didn't really realize how much something like that affected me until today, when I felt really drained. And I've been just doing a lot. I've been working a lot. Putting in 15 to 18-hour days, and that's really draining on me as well, because I'm constantly holding space and constantly helping others, and obviously sometimes not giving enough back to myself, so that doesn't help, especially when something like that happens. So I'll kind of give you what happened on Saturday. All day Saturday I was feeling really drained, really on edge, really restless, really kind of triggered, really annoyed. Definitely not my usual state of being at all. And even my girlfriend was like, "What's wrong with you? What's up? What's going on?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I just feel this way, And so then it was fine. We went to a movie. We had a little date night. It was all good. And then when we went to bed, I passed out really early because I was just feeling drained and tired and triggered. And so I fell asleep maybe around 10 o'clock. I woke up almost an hour later, just straight out of bed. And I guess you could call it, what is it called? Sleep paralysis, where my whole body was stiff as a board. I just couldn't move my body. But I was wide awake. My eyes were open. And it was my whole prefrontal cortex, which is that fight or flight mechanism. It's that reptilian brain that we all have, right? the questioning, the doubt, the fear, the what ifs, the why nots, the all of that, it just hit me like this brick wall. And I mean, life is good. Other than me, like putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of energy, life is good. There's nothing that I have nothing to complain about. And it was just like, I started thinking all of these thoughts and it just wouldn't stop. Um, and then like I started seeing all of these reptilian beings that were in my room. Like there were multiple of them, maybe like 6 of them. And they were in the astral, they were floating around. And they were like hissing and growling and talking, but they were like talking and they didn't think that I could hear them. It was wild. It was really crazy. And it was really crazy. And I started to get really focused on my breath, like so focused on my breath, because usually when I'm having some sort of panic or anxiety attack, usually like calming my breath or like making sure I'm breathing out really long, like it calms my nervous system. But it did the absolute opposite. I was so in this prefrontal cortex. There was something that was triggered in me. Like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was maybe these reptilian beings who were triggering this, or these dark entities that were triggering this prefrontal cortex, this fight or flight, this super, super, super fear that I had. But I started getting so concentrated on my breath, so over concentrated on my breath, that I started hyperventilating. And it was like I couldn't relax, to the point where every time I had a thought, I would stop breathing. And then I would remember that I stopped breathing, then I would start breathing again. And then I would start just hyperventilating and trying to breathe normally, but I didn't know what normal breathing was. It was like I was so thrown out of my body that I couldn't relax enough to just allow my body to do the thing that it naturally knows how to do without having to think. Like, if you can imagine, that's how much I was thrown into my fight or flight, my prefrontal cortex, that I couldn't even allow myself to breathe properly. Right? Like, that's like, it wasn't even like this fear that came over me. It was like, I guess the only real big fear that I had was like, I felt like my heart was pumping so irregularly that I was going to have some sort of like heart attack or stroke or something, because I wasn't allowing my body to just breathe. I was stopping, holding my breath, and then breathing again, then holding my breath again, and then breathing again. And that went on for about 6 to 8 hours on Saturday night. And I finally, probably around, like, my girlfriend knew, because she could feel my energy, and she's like, you were hyperventilating, but your body wasn't moving, and you were stiff as a board, but your eyes were looking everywhere. And, I've never come close to a psychosis, like where you kind of like lose your mind and they have to put you into a facility. But Saturday, I knew exactly what a psychosis would have felt like. I know exactly. And for anyone who has gone through something like a psychosis, I was right there. It was like I lost all capacity to think for myself. I lost all capacity to even have control over my breath. And I am always in control of opening and closing my third eye. And it was scary because of that lack of control. And it was almost like, because I've been doing so much release work on my clients, because I've been cutting cords with reptilian shapeshifters and collapsing entire like troops of reptilians and different attachments and dark entities, and doing a lot of that clearing, I think that it was just building up, building up, building up. And every time I did one of these sessions for my client, and it wasn't just one client, it was like 5 or 6 clients that I had this past week. Every session that I had, I felt more and more drained. I felt like my life force energy was being taken from me, to the point where I just couldn't even fight back anymore on Saturday. I just didn't have that. So I want to talk about this a little bit further, because before we step into the 5th dimension frequency, before we step into 2020, before we step into that high vibrational capacity, this is going to happen. Whether it is your husband who, all of a sudden flips the switch and his eyes go really dark and he starts yelling at you for no reason. Maybe it's a stranger on the street that just pushes you down. Maybe it's your best friend turning on you, maybe it's your boss, maybe it's no one at all, and maybe it's just these dreams that you've been having. Psychic attacks do happen. They can happen to just anyone. And this isn't a fear-based thing, this is a knowledge-based thing. We cannot fully abandon the fact that these attacks aren't real. Like, if you don't believe that these attacks are real, then they'll still happen, but you just won't have the tools to get yourself out of them. Before we step into that high vibration energy, we are being tested to see if we can maintain that vibration. I'm so happy to say that on Sunday, after that night, yeah, I was drained. Yes, I was emotional and very apathetic, but I felt so normal. Like my mind was back. I could breathe normally, right? So I've been fine since then. I've just been really drained, really exhausted, and kind of sad for whatever reason. Maybe my life force is just drained a little bit. But they'll do a variety of things. I had a reptilian shapeshifter as a boyfriend at one point, and they really tried to get to me through my heart, of course, that vulnerability place. They have projected dreamscapes. I think one of the most intense psychic attacks, other than probably this past Saturday that I went through, was back in 2017. And I was traveling in Spain with my mom. No, it was Portugal. And I always find that, like, when I'm out of my element, I'm out of my protection, because I put like this bubble around my place. Anyway, so we rented an Airbnb on a sailboat, and we like literally crashed in this sailboat. It was so much fun. And that night I had the most vivid dream. Of course, it was a dreamscape, which means that it was a dream setup. So these entities, whether you want to call them reptilians or just dark entities or demons or whatever your perception is of them, they set up this dream. And it was probably the most fucked up dream I've ever had. Even though it wasn't just a dream, it was a dreamscape. It was set up. And basically in this dream, I was with my mom. It was a very, very, very normal dream, very normal. And my mom gets this call, and it's a call from my step aunt, but we'll just call her my aunt for the sake of ease. And she gets this call from my aunt, and she says, "Can you please bring Elizabeth over? Her cousin is really like suffering, and she needs her help." And so this was in the dream, okay? And so my mom said, "Yeah, sure, like I'll see what Elizabeth is doing." And so in the dream I said, "Absolutely, I would love to help my cousin. Let's go over there." So we get in the car, we drive over, and I go over to their big, beautiful house, which is pretty much the house that they have in this lifetime, like in real actuality. And so my mom goes and she talks with my aunt, and then I go into my cousin's bedroom. And my cousin, now in real life, she suffers a lot from, what is it called? Anorexia, bulimia. She's really, she's such a beautiful girl, and she really has suffered with mental illness her whole life. And so I went into her room, and this is in the dream, okay? This is a dreamscape that was projected into my mind when I was sleeping as far as a psychic attack that happened back in 2017. That's really the last time that I was really psychically attacked, other than Saturday. And anyway, so I go into her room. She's hunched over. I can see her spine. Like I can see, like she's so skinny. She's so frail. And she's hunched over, and she's holding her legs like this. And she's rocking back and forth. And she's talking to herself. And her back is to me. So I'm like at her door. Her back is to me. And she's talking to herself. She's like, "Don't let her in. Don't let her in. She's not allowed to be here. She shouldn't be here." Right? And I'm thinking immediately when I see this scene and I walk into her room, immediately I'm thinking, there is a dark entity attached to her. I need to remove this entity. This is not good. But I can do it because I'm strong enough, right? So I go over to her, and like, let's just say that her name is Stacy. Okay, that's not her real name, but let's just say her name is Stacy. And I go over and I say, "Hey, Stacy, like, are you okay?" She looks back at me, and she's got these piercing black eyes, and she's like, "No, get away. Like, you're not allowed to be here." And I said, "No, I'm here to help you. Let me help you." And so I just intuitively, I put my left hand on her lower abdomen, I put my right hand on the back of her neck, and I start doing this healing on her. And I'm healing her, and I just feel my life force energy getting drained from me as I'm healing her. And I'm trying to get this entity off of her, out of her. It was clearly a full possession that was taking place. This entity was fully in her body, and I was trying to get it out, trying to get it out. I was almost about to give up in this dream. And then in that moment when I was about to give up and walk away and say, she's got to do this herself, she like cranks her neck back. This dark, smoky, like giant, dark gray cloud comes out of her mouth, right? And it's now above her body. And her body is just limp in my arms. And I'm talking now to this entity directly. And I say, you need to get out of her body. You have no right to be there. This is not your space. This is not your dimension. This is not your realm. You're not allowed to be here. And then he starts to talk to me. This entity starts to talk to me. And he says, I'm not leaving her. She is my host. I'm feeding off of her. I will perish if I don't have her. And he says, the only way I'm leaving her, the only way I'm leaving your cousin is if I get to attach myself to you. And I think about it. And I say, in this dream, I say, no, there's no way. I've done a lot of sacrifice. I've given myself a lot to other people, but there's no way I'm just going to accept you to come and attach yourself to my body. And he said, fine, then I'm staying here. And of course, this wave of guilt that I couldn't help her washed over me, but then I also realized that those were her contracts. And I ended up leaving her room, and I felt so ungrounded. Like, this is in the dream. I felt so ungrounded. I leave her room. I walk away. Me and my mom go back into the car. And I wake up, like, in that moment, and I'm so drained. The life force is just sucked out of me, and I am so drained. And I'm, like, in this hot sweat. Like, the whole bed was just soaked. I was pale. I was sweating. I felt nauseous, right? All of the things. And I knew that if I said yes to that entity in the dream, then that same entity would have entered my body in this lifetime. We have to give these beings permission to work with us. And obviously it was trying to work around my conscious permission because it knew that there's no way in waking life would I ever allow that thing to attach to me, but it thought that maybe if I sacrificed myself for someone that I loved, I would allow this thing in. And it still didn't get my permission, which I'm so happy about. And it's so interesting because halfway through, this is so wild, but okay, so now going back into real life, on Saturday night, halfway through the crazy freaking night that we had and the attacks and whatever, and I was awake for 6 to 8 hours, just hyperventilating, not knowing what to do. I was also smelling essential oil. Like I was inhaling this essential oil, hoping that it would just get my rhythm of my breathing back to normal, which it didn't. And it was frankincense, which was very protecting. And then when I passed out finally at 5 or 6 in the morning, Nat wakes up, my girlfriend wakes up, and then she starts to feel all of the anxiety and the triggering and all of the fear. And she went into the bathroom. This isn't a dream, this is real life. She went into the bathroom and this voice came into her head saying, don't look in the mirrors, don't look in the mirrors, kind of implying that you're going to see something if you look into the mirrors. So she ducked down and she made sure that she wasn't looking in the mirror. She's like, I go to the bathroom multiple times a night and I've never had that message, come to me. And then she goes back into the room and she was just wide awake. And it was interesting because I think while I was awake, I was putting all these protections and sending out positive vibes and love and whatever. And then I fell asleep, and when I did, she woke up and she started doing the same thing, protection, love, and light, and whatever. And then in the early morning, when we both kind of woke up, maybe around 8 a.m., 7 or 8 a.m., our dog, Abby, threw up, just randomly, of course, randomly. But she threw up, that morning, right after all of this crazy psychic attacks. So, of course, she was taking on a lot of that energy, and she needed to release, just purge out all of that energy, which is really intense. So, anyway, yeah, so that just happened. I've been really drained since. A couple of things that I wanted to mention. I do have a couple things that I wanted to talk about here. The biggest misconception about dark entities is that it doesn't exist, right? Oh, if I don't believe in it, it's not going to be there. It doesn't exist. And it's not the truth. The darkness exists whether you believe in it or not. So it does exist. That's not a fear-based thing. That's just a reality thing. But the other misconception is that the dark has any power over us, which it doesn't. The darkness has absolutely no power over us whatsoever. It can make us feel fear, but by feeling the fear, we're giving it our power. And I'll tell you guys I've got a couple of things on how to overcome an attack, right? How to overcome an attack. So if you have a piece of paper and a pen, I highly recommend that you write some of these things down. We're going to get there though. Okay. So the other misconception that I just wanted to mention about dark entities and darkness and shapeshifters or whatever is that when you research them, that you attract them. That's a misconception, okay? You can research reptilians, you can research shapeshifters, you can research the Illuminati, you can research demons and dark entities or black hat men or top hat men or something, hat men or whatever that may be. You can research them. And as long as you're researching out of curiosity, that's not going to attract them. It is your fear that's going to attract them, not your fear necessarily of them. Oh, thank you so much, Christopher. Yeah, thank you for that super chat. So you can research this energy, you can research this information, and you won't get attacked by them just by researching them. Okay, so just be aware that that doesn't have to be the case. The other thing that I thought was interesting as well is, and I'm not going to go into any of that, but it's fine. So it's only fear that will attract them. Okay, so there's really, as long as you have like a really positive vibration, there's nothing going to be, nothing to be worried about. And I was definitely at a low vibration on Saturday. I was overworked, I was stressed out, I was anxious, I was giving my power away, I was doing a lot of things through obligation, and I was just not feeling fully aligned. And also I did a lot of reptilian clearing this past week, and of course that pisses them off, like straight up. I mean, they don't like that, right? Okay, so once again, personally, I've been attacked my entire life, a variety of different ways that they've tried to attack me. I think one day I'll be writing some sort of book on psychic attacks and what to know about them, just because it's important to kind of keep your mind open, but also not really kind of succumbing to some of that fear. Okay, so there's many different ways that they can attack you, but ultimately they're just trying to lower your vibration. They can't make decisions for you. They can't force you to get into a car accident. They can't come down to this reality and kill you, okay? They literally have no power over you other than trying to lower your vibration. Once again, they have no power over you other than trying to lower your vibration. Trust me, if they did have power over us, then I probably, maybe not, wouldn't be here, at this time, right? I mean, they don't want me to be here. So, but I'm still here, right? And they've tried a lot in a lot of different ways. So they have no power over you. It's really important. And also the other thing to keep in mind is that they're not trying to possess you. Most of the time, they can't possess you. These beings can't even typically come close to me or my energy and vibration because I am so well protected and at such a high vibration. Okay, so these entities and beings aren't trying to possess you. They're basically giving up part of their contracts and part of their life if they do try and possess you. So it just doesn't really work that way. Okay, so it's very rare that you have like a full-on possession, and usually that takes like years in the making for some sort of entity to fully possess a person. Okay, so So, how to overcome an attack, how to overcome a psychic attack. And I just want to ask all of you before I get into this, have you felt like you have ever been psychically attacked before? Once again, sometimes beings can actually come through other people to attack you or bring down your vibration. Sometimes beings can come through your dreams, and you have the most vivid, the most intense, and the most disturbing dream you've ever had in your life. What else? How else have I been attacked? Yeah, like sometimes you'll be like walking down the street and you feel like you're being watched. Like I would consider that to be a psychic attack. Yeah, so there's a lot of ways, and a lot of people are saying here, especially on YouTube, that you have been psychically attacked. Once again, like to be like, hey, I'm a spiritual teacher, and it's all light, and it's all love, and it's actually just all in your head, and you're going crazy, and you're not actually getting psychic. No, like fuck that. Sorry, not sorry, but like we can't abandon or or try and distract ourselves from the truth. I mean, it is the truth. This does happen, and a lot of you have experienced this before, most likely because, there you go, there's the light, confirmation, most likely because a lot of you are, you're powerful, and they don't want you here. And thank you so much, Lynette, for that beautiful super chat. And so the more powerful you are, the more of a force you are to be reckoned with, the higher the vibration you are, the lower the vibration, and the more they're going to try and bring you down, right? So I'm not surprised that a lot of you have experienced some sort of psychic attack in your life. And I just want to say, like, it's been quite a while since I've had one in my own life. Like, I've been so on a high, I've been so protected, I've been so just so on this like blissful state, and I really truly feel that way even after getting psychically attacked. I still feel so appreciative and so abundant in my life in all of the ways, but I really just needed to kind of bring all of this information up to all of you. Okay, so the number one aspect of overcoming a psychic attack is staying positive and thankful. Staying positive and thankful. Overall, this is kind of like a preventative measure. The more appreciative and thankful you are, especially over the shitty things that happen to you in your life, okay? So the more appreciative and thankful you are in your day-to-day life, the less likely it is that something is going to happen or some sort of psychic attack is going to happen to you. And then it's a really great testing ground as well. If you're really thankful and appreciative of losing your job, then they can't take something like that away from you and lower your vibration, right? Like they literally cannot touch you or cannot affect you if you're looking at everything in a very positive and high vibrational way. And someone on YouTube just said, so these entities are psychic. It's interesting. I call them psychic attacks because they attack us through vibration and energy and frequency rather than necessarily a physical attack, or else I would call it like a physical attack. They're not necessarily psychic. They just don't necessarily exist in this third dimensional vibration, which means that they understand the laws of light and dark a lot more than we do, or the typical person does. So what they can do is they can manipulate and go around these laws of light and dark, and also wiggle around the laws of free will to just bring you down. No, they cannot override your free will. No, they cannot make decisions for you. No, they cannot, set certain environments up for you. But they can try and manipulate your free will or influence you to feel a certain way, but it's up to you whether you want to feel that way or not. Okay? They can be very sneaky for sure. They're just super manipulative. So I'll kind of mention a couple years ago, I think this was right after the attack that I went through in Portugal. A couple years ago, I had this dream where there's three tall, 10 feet tall, dark beings that were chasing me. And it literally kind of looked like, oh, thank you so much, Sharma. Chocolate and kombucha for sure. I'm definitely going to indulge today and just kind of be with myself. But yeah, and so there was this psychic attack that I went through, and Yeah, and there was three beings, and it literally looked like we were in hell, even though I don't believe in hell. But it was like red. It was like all red all around me, and there was these 10-foot tall beings, and they were chasing me and chasing me and chasing me. It felt like they were just chasing me forever, and there was so much fear in running away, from being chased. And then halfway through, I just stopped and I said, why am I running? Like, there's no point in running. Why am I running away from being chased? Like, I'm giving my power away. I'm allowing them to chase me. And I stopped, dead stop in that moment. And I turned around and I basically spread my arms and I said, come here. I want to hug you. Thank you so much for being in my life. I love you. I love you unconditionally, like you have never loved yourself. And literally, it was so funny because now they were chasing me, trying to drive all this fear into me. And that was another kind of dream setup that they did. And then I turned around and I started giving them this giant hug. And I think one or two of them ran away. And then the one just stood there because he didn't know what to do when I was hugging him and giving him all this love. And then just in that split of a second, the dark energy that he had burst into like a billion little tiny pieces. And he transmuted. And thank you so much, Deb, for that beautiful super chat. And I transmuted that dark energy that he had into unconditional love energy. And it's beautiful because when you have a being that is that dark, it just takes the smallest ounce of love to trigger them into the most amount of love and the most amount of light. Think about when the sky is pitch black. Think about when the moon is no longer up. Think about a new moon, when the sky is so dark in fact, that those stars shine even brighter. How beautiful is that? The darkness brings contrast and allows the light to shine. That's exactly how light and dark works. But when you have a little bit of light there, then it's overshining all of the darkness so that there's only a piece of that light that's shining through. And thank you so much, Maggie, for another super chat. And so that's kind of how I feel. When you have an entity that's so dark, they're so sad, they're so depressed, they're so anxious, they are so in this place of darkness and despair, that showing them the tiniest bit of love, the tiniest bit of compassion, and the most amount of acceptance will trigger them to be in this state of accepting and love for themselves without the conditions. The darker the soul, the more willing they are to accept the light. And the brighter that light can shine in their life once they do accept that. So we have to realize that we have to take compassion over reptilians and demons and entities and shapeshifters and the darkness. We have to have compassion for all of that because we've experienced that darkness and it sucks. It does. And I think that that's why a lot of teachers and light workers, they're scared to go into the darkness. They're scared to talk about it. They're scared to confront it because their whole life, their whole career has been built around this facade in a way of the light. Any teacher that doesn't talk about the darkness or the shadow self or the ego or the challenge of just being a human, it's not a teacher that you should have in your life, right? And likewise, any teacher that focuses on depression and anxiety and suicide and the darkness, it's no teacher to have, right? You have to be in balance with yourself, with your reality. We are living in a binary reality. And we have to have that balance within ourselves in order to have that balance outside of ourselves. Okay? So the first thing is stay positive and stay thankful. And how to overcome attacks, it really depends on what kind of attack it is. But the biggest thing is that we can't really blame others for having something like that happen to us. Like for me, like I can't turn around and blame all of my clients this week who brought me all of these reptilian attachments and these issues that they needed to clear. I can't say, oh, why did you bring that to me? I can't believe you would force me to help you release this. Like, how I can't do this. I'm just one person, right? I mean, I can't blame them. I have to ask myself, why did I choose to contract myself to have 6 individual clients all come to me in 1 week with all of these dark entities, attachments, parasites, and shape-shifting qualities? Why did I contract that for myself in my life? Likewise, back in university, when I had an entity, a dark entity, literally come through the body of my low vibrational roommate, and basically she made my life a living hell for 6 months, 8 months, you know? Why did I contract myself to go through that? Not, how dare she? Why would she do that to me? Okay, we're not the victim in this game. We are the creator in this game. And the more you realize and take full responsibility for being the creator, no matter how powerful and beautiful and no matter how sad and destructive your life is, the easier it is to move out of those situations, because you realize that you created them. So don't blame others, okay? And it's important that we realize and understand that all of our experiences with the dark side is an experience that we contracted and created because it shows us how beautiful the light is. If you never knew what the nighttime looked like, then how could you ever define what the daytime looked like? We have to have the binary in order to have the balance. The biggest thing that I've noticed, other than having compassion over the beings or the entities that are attacking you in that moment, the biggest thing that I find, especially when it's the suppression or the density is so tough that we can't get ourselves and we can't escape that, when we're in that situation, the best thing for you to do is to repeat positive words of affirmation. And that's what I did. I did that for 8 hours, over and over and over again that night on Saturday night. Just any words that could come to me. Healing, strength, positivity, peace, love, high vibration, compassion, harmony, peace, tranquility, calm, balance, whatever positive words that I could think of, I just kept repeating them over and over and over and over and over again. And it was next to impossible for me to be kind of like just with myself and my own thoughts that night, because I literally thought I was about to basically lose my mind. It was really intense. So I actually put on a nature documentary, and someone just mentioned nature. And of course, I live in LA, so I can't just walk to a waterfall, which I used to be able to do in Ontario. But yeah, so I put on a nature documentary, and I was just laying there paralyzed, word of word, over and over and over again of these affirmations. So the other thing that I like to do as well is like putting a protective bubble around my house, around myself, around my partner, around the people in my family. I don't really like walking around with this protection because it gives off this intention that you need to be protected all the time. But it is important to also realize that we can protect ourselves and we can protect the people that we love and we can protect our homes. And so it literally looks like this giant dome of pure white light and vibration. And the intention that I put out there with this dome is nothing of a lower vibrational frequency can come through this dome and affect me, right? I mean, that's really the intention that I have, is that dome. So repeating positive words, being really compassionate towards, those entities and dark forces, staying positive and thankful for the preliminary methods, and then the dome, like just creating that protective dome, understanding that nothing of a lower vibration or that doesn't match your vibration can come through that dome, okay? White light for the highest vibration. Now, I have a secret weapon. Of course, I have something called light weapons, and I, take out my sword and all of that, which is great. But I have another secret weapon, and this is like a force in my life that's outside of myself. And And this force, this is a woman actually, she lives in the UK. Her name is Sharma. And she's incredible. I mean, what she does for a living is take off entities, parasites. She will scan your etheric body. She will scan your physical body. She will scan your home. And she will scan everyone who's in your life, all the cords that connect you to all of the people. Oh, thank you so much, David. Aw, thank you for that super chat. I'm so glad that you're resonating with these words. And like I said, being this teacher, being this light worker, it's tough for me to be vulnerable. It's tough for me to say that I'm hurting or that I'm in pain or that I'm suffering or that I'm drained or that I'm weak, like, me saying that I'm weak when I'm always like that tough little rah rah rah, like this little like yippy dog who like thinks that I'm much bigger than 5 foot nothing. It's tough for me to go through these experiences, but it's also really important for me to get on camera and say, yeah, I just had that experience, and it's okay to have that kind of experience, So I have this superpower in my life. Her name's Sharma Pillai, and she lives in the UK, and every month she will scan me. And like, say for example, like a couple weeks ago, what was it, maybe a month or two ago, I was feeling watched. I think I told you guys I was feeling a little bit watched. And she texted me. She's like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that there's this portal that was opened up in your living room, which is like right here. And there was almost like this window, and there was this guy who was astral traveling through the window, and he was coming to check in on you and just kind of watch you for a little bit. And she's like, don't worry, I closed the window. So it's interesting how I feel these things, and then she comes out right away and validates, my feelings and my thoughts. So she scans me, she scans my assistant, she scans all of my family members every single month. She's absolutely powerful, super incredible. If you struggle on a consistent basis with getting attacks or lower vibrations or any of that, she has all of these techniques, not only to just get rid of etheric chips, entities, parasites, attachments, contracts in your energy and vibration, but she will actually put new chips and implants in you that are going to kind of prevent those things from happening again. So just be aware. I don't know what her email is, but hopefully, I think you're watching, Sharma. So if you can please put your email here, that would be fantastic, so that people know how to contact you. And then if you guys do really want to hire her, even for a month, to check in on your energy, or just at a one-time basis to get her to help you, she helps me so much. She is my superpower. Guys, I really don't, it's not that I don't believe in too many people, but there isn't too many people on this planet that I fully resonate with. So if you are really interested and you want to get her to help you, like she helps me every single day, every single month, then please either contact me and I'll send you her contact information, or you can contact her directly if she has her information down below. Okay, so please keep that in mind. She's super under the radar, and she's definitely, my special superpower. And it's not an affiliate program. I don't get any money from that. All of that goes straight to her and her beautiful daughter, who's this little light worker as well. She's a single mom. So definitely check her out. She's so powerful. And I just want to say publicly, thank you so much, Sharma, for being on my team. I don't know what I would do without you. You've been so powerful and so helpful for me, especially over the past year or two. So, and here I am getting emotional again. I'm just so not used to so not used to being vulnerable like this. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And checking out this live video. And I know it wasn't the super energized and bubbly and full of rants that I usually am, just because this is where I'm at and trying to be super real and super authentic with all of you. So keep up the good work, everyone. I love you all so much. The darkness does exist, but you are way more powerful than that. Think about a dark room and lighting a match in that dark room. That one little light will open you up to a world of success and fulfillment. And thank you so much, Fleef, for another beautiful super chat. I love you guys. Thank you all. Thank you, Sharma. Thank you, all of you, for holding space for me, for allowing me to be emotional and vulnerable and not my typical self. But I'll be right back again next Monday for another beautiful live video. And if you want to hop over to my teacher's membership page, I'll be doing a cool little Q&A over there as well right after this video. So thank you all so much. Have a beautiful rest of your week. And I'll see you all next week at Live 555. Bye, everyone on Facebook. Bye, YouTube. Thank you, guys.